Donald Trump held a rally today in Iowa, and the money raised was to help support our veterans. He did this opposite the Republican debate in which he decided to skip after Fox News said some unflattering things about him. Well, he addressed that situation in his opening remarks, and I've got that for you. I hope you enjoy it.
That's so nice. Thank you. Thank you, man. There's a vet. There's a vet. We love our vets. Thank you, everybody. Sit down, please. We had about 24 hours to put this together. It was very, very quick, and we're here for some very special people, and we're going to hear from some of them. But this is an honor. This is a really honor. And I didn't want to be here, I have to be honest. I wanted to be about 5 minutes away, and I've enjoyed that. I've enjoyed that. All the online polls said I've done very well with that, with the debates, and I've had a kick with it. But you have to stick up for your rights. When you're treated badly, you have to stick up for your rights. You have to do it. And whether we like it or not, whether it's something we want to do or not, and that's what our country has to do. I mean, as an example, Iran, the way they've been treating us with all of this horrible, this deal is one of the worst deals I've ever seen negotiated under any circumstances. And we just take it. We have to stick up for ourselves as people, and we have to stick up for our country when we're being mistreated. Remember that. And I have to go a little step further and say that Fox has been extremely nice, and the last number of hours, actually. And they've wanted me there, and they said, how about now? They called a few minutes ago. How about now? Can you come over? I said, hasn't it already started? And we actually thought what we'd do is we'd let them start, and, you know, we wanted to be about 15 minutes into that hour, so that by now they're all tuned in. Look at all the cameras, like the Academy Awards. This is like the Academy Awards. This is the Academy Awards. We're actually told that we have more cameras than they do by quite a bit, so that's sort of interesting. And you know what? That's really in honor of our vets, but they have been. They've been very nice, and they wanted me to go and apologize and everything else, and they did apologize, and they could not have been. But once this started, it's for our vets. There was nothing I could do. I don't know. And you know what? I don't know. Is it, for me personally, a good thing, a bad thing? Will I get more votes? Will I get less votes? Nobody knows. Who the hell knows? But it's for our vets, and you're going to like it because we raised over $5 million in one day. Over $5 million. So that's not so bad. You know, my whole theme is Make America Great Again. And that's what we're going to do. And we wouldn't have even been here if it weren't for our vets. And our vets are being mistreated. Illegal immigrants are treated better in many cases than our vets. And it's not going to happen anymore. Not going to happen anymore. So once this ball started rolling, we couldn't stop it. And you see the House is packed. And literally, this took place less than 24 hours. We had less than 24 hours to do this because they said, listen, I'm not going to do the debate out of respect for myself. I won't do it because it would just be wrong. But I got to, you know, I love Iowa. I'm here. We got to do something. I didn't know we were going to raise $5 million. We actually raised close to $6 million, to be totally honest. But, and I have to say, a lot more to come. You know, we set up a site, www.donaldtrump4vets.com. 4vets.com. And they've raised almost $500,000 just today. So I think this money is going to continue to pour in. And we have some incredible, incredible people. I do want to call out some of the folks that gave a lot of the money. And then we're going to have somebody come up to speak who's an incredible speaker, but much more importantly, it's the subject. Somebody that really, really understands what the vets are going through. But first, we have to talk about people that made a lot of money. And they wouldn't have made a lot of money. They wouldn't even be here if it weren't for the vets and our great military. Because the military, right, Phil, has a lot more guts than you do. Is that right? We have different kind of guts, right? So Carl Icahn gave $500,000. One quick phone call. Would $500,000 be okay? Richard Lefrak, a great builder in New York, gave $100,000. Donald Trump, another great builder in New York, now a politician, I can't stand this. A politician. I don't want to be called a politician. All talk, no action. I refuse to be called a politician. Donald Trump gave $1 million, okay? The Fisher family of New York gave $75,000. Howard Lauber, a great fan and friend of our family, $100,000. A very, very rich man in New York, a very good friend of mine, a very good person, and he wants to be anonymous. The first time in his life, all his life he was out there. Now I said, do me a favor, could you give me $1 million for this? He said, what? I said, don't worry about it, just give me $1 million. He said, no, at least tell me. He said, it's for the vets. He said, you got it. Is that good, right? And he wanted to be anonymous. I don't know, he's changed, because you know what? You know who I'm talking about. 2 years ago, yes? It really is too crazy, right? You know, I tell the story. I love protests. I love protests at my rallies because here, this is a beautiful place, but we have thousands of people outside that weren't as good as real estate as you folks, I will tell you. But we have thousands of people outside trying to get in. We set up cameras, we set up screens, we have everything. But I will tell you, you look at that, I love the protesters in the big arenas because the cameras never move. They're always on my face. And I say to my wife, Melania, honey, stand up. She has to suffer through it. She has to suffer through this. No, I go home. And it's always broadcast. You know, they can never let me like the other politicians. Nobody cares. There's nobody covering them, no cameras. Look at this. It's like crazy. But I'd say, how did I do? She said, you were great. Were there many people there? I say, what do you mean? There were 21,000. It was like in the Mavericks Arena. Or it was, I remember, in Alabama, Mobile, Alabama, we had 35,000 people. By the way, we get the biggest crowds by far. Much bigger than Bernie, although I have to say, he's second. He is second. No other Republican. But we get the biggest crowds. And she'll say, but they never show the crowd. And I say, what do you mean they never show the crowd? And I realized they never turn the camera. And I always say, you know, I figured maybe they're fixed. These are new cameras they can't turn. The only way you find out that they're not fixed, they're like pretzels the way they can turn them, is when you have a protester. You can have protesters up in the top and they're turned around sideways. They turn, but they don't want to show the crowd. So it's one of those things. So we have a rich man from New York, a good guy who's become a little bit reclusive, obviously, $1 million. He's a great guy. We have another unbelievable man, Ike Perlmutter from Marvel. He did such an unbelievable job. One of the great, great men of our country in terms of business and talent. And he's giving Ike and Lori Perlmutter $1 million. J.J. Cafaro from Florida and from Cleveland. He's a man who made a lot of money in Cleveland, does a good job, and a fantastic man. $50,000. J.J., thank you. Another great friend of mine, one of the most brilliant men you'll ever meet, a phenomenal world-class poker player. You wouldn't even know it. He doesn't do that for a living. He makes money for a living in every way. You cannot make a deal with this guy and come out on top. It's impossible. In fact, I'm thinking about him for China. How about him negotiating with China? Okay? You know, China, this year in trade, will make over $500 billion in terms of our trade deficit. $500 billion. That's no partnership. And I'm a free trader. I love free trade. But we have to use our head. And we use political hacks to negotiate with the Chinese. And they have the smartest people. I deal with them all the time. I love the Chinese. They buy my apartments for millions. I have their largest bank in the world from China in one of my buildings. I love them. I'm not blaming the Chinese. I'm not angry at them. I'm angry at our politicians because we have people that are incompetent running our country. Why should we be losing in trade deficits $500 billion